Hi, I'm Jack Baruzzini, and you're listening to The Secret to Stargate, where we talk about the hidden meanings and deeper layers found in the Stargate movies, TV series, and more. And joining me today are Lisa Jones. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Jack.
And Victor Lambs. Hey, Victor.
Supreme Commander Victor Lambs.
I'm sorry. Yes, that is correct. Please forgive me. Today we are discussing this absolutely riveting episode of SG-1, it's episode 17, Disclosure. And to be honest, I did not even put together a summary for this episode because it is a clip show. We get this frame story of the SGC, Colonel Hammond, and we get Kinsey there being his wonderful self, revealing to the Russians, or the Russians already know, but revealing to the Chinese, the French, I think the English are there, and the Germans. The British, yes.
The British.
All the Stargate program exists, and pretty much the whole episode is clips from previous seasons of Stargate to fill in, I guess, the world leaders on what's going on, and all for the audience to get a recap before we get to the end of the season. Which, yeah, it's not really a lot to say about it, but it is cool to see that we finally have reached this point where other nations are going to be brought in. I guess that's the big positive takeaway from this episode. Do you have any thoughts on this episode, Lisa?
So many notes. Actually, I'm gonna say for a clip episode, it's not bad. Like if you have to rank, this is the third clip episode they've done, and I think there's 2 more coming up. This is the second best. And that's saying a lot, because the one that is the best, it is the best. You can't argue. It's Citizen Joe, right, Victor? And you can't argue that's the best clip episode ever.
Yeah, I don't even consider that a clip episode, but it is. But
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like that they attempted plot. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, you've asked us how many times, like, when is the rest of the world going to find out? We're like, there it is. You know, there's some funny lines and some little moments, and of course you get Thor, so you gotta love Thor. So as far as clip shows go, not bad.
Yeah, I think they do the best possible with the format, and it's not a clip show that has hardly any new content. There's probably about maybe 15 minutes of new stuff. So that's nice. I actually looked up, and someone on YouTube has made a cut down version of this episode that just includes the new scenes. So
that's awesome.
If you don't feel like rewatching all the previous clips, then you can just watch that, and you're back up to speed.
Though I say they did pick good clips. I mean, so you realize some of those were some of the best episodes we've talked about. So
yeah.
Some.
What about you, Victor?
Yeah, so we do get to see some cool wireframe models of all the ships and stuff that Major Davis, throws up on the screen. But no, there are some interesting things going on in this episode. Gary Chalk is back as Colonel Chekhov, and his Russian accent is much improved. He's delightful in this episode. I do like in this episode, and we see this, I was watching a Sequest episode from 1993, and they were saying, like, oh, this mission had the top spacefaring nations of 2018 on it, because the show takes place. And it was interesting to see, like, who they thought the world powers, like, were going to be. So we have, like, the British, the French, the Chinese. Nowadays, I think the French would not be there and the Indians would be there, just given in terms of, like, how advanced their space program is.
Yeah.
But so it is interesting to kind of see the provincialism of, the mid-aughts coming through. But no, I mean, there are some interesting things here. The guy playing the British ambassador, Martin Evans, was very good, I thought. And of course, it's always good to see Francis Lau from Lost a lot, Lost and other shows, A Dark Matter and stuff. He keeps popping up, and it's always good to see him too. But yeah, it is an episode that's been a long time coming. When did the other nations find out about the Stargate? And so I think this is without the clips, this could have been a pretty boring episode too. So if they have to combine two kind of boring episodes together to give us just one boring episode, I guess it works.
Yeah. And really the most dramatic thing that happens is that Kinsey, being the slimy politician that he is, tries to use this as an opportunity to basically do a hostile takeover of the SGC and the Stargate program, putting the NID in charge because they're a quote unquote civilian operation.
Yeah.
And it's fun to see all the back and forth of that. And it's also funny how much sniping Kinsey is doing at his own people in front of these other world leaders. Like, that just makes us look really bad. Like, it shows that you have no confidence in your own team. And that's not a good look when you're talking to your ambassadors from these other superpowers.
Yeah. I mean, you see that sometimes in workplaces too, right? Where someone will throw their team under the bus in order to advance their own agenda and stuff. And those people never go far.
I don't think Kinsey sees them as his team.
True.
I think he sees himself as separate, like separate and above them. I do think it's interesting, and I'd completely forgotten this, that he comes in and wants the NID to take over. And the last we saw Kinsey, the NID tried to kill him.
Yeah.
Just a few rogue agents answering to interests that weren't acting in the interests of the NID's interests or whatever.
Yes, it was the committee. Is that what they were called?
Yeah,
the bad guys.
Yes.
So that was a little nice twist. And if you realize, the 5 countries that are represented in that room are the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council. So I'm assuming that's why they chose those
that makes
5.
Sense.
Is because they were then, and they are still, the only 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council. So considered
time to shake up that UN Security Council.
Yeah. Who's going to vote for? Who's going to vote for that? Because they all got veto powers.
Yeah, that's true.
It is also funny, given the current geopolitical climate, to see that Russia is really the only one sticking up for the United States in this situation, vouching for them.
Very pragmatically too. I love the scene where Colonel Chekhov pulls the Chinese ambassador, who's played by Francois Chow, not whatever I said earlier. But it's like, it's like they take all the risk, they go through the gate and they bring stuff back and they share it with us. Trust me, it's a sweetheart, of a deal. You take it, you like it and stuff. And not exactly like that, but I did love that scene where and the Chinese ambassador's like, this could be a very good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I loved that the Chinese ambassador is saying how wrong it is that the US is keeping this big secret from their citizens. And he says, we, the Chinese, don't do that. And I'm like,
yes, the Chinese government does not keep secrets from its people.
And they didn't play a trombone sound there. So I didn't know if they the writers actually believed that or if they were just, if it's Malazi and Mully. I don't know if they just put that out as like a satirical joke, but
it has to be.
It was so on the nose. It was satire.
Yeah. They don't play a weird sound effect or anything. They're like,
it sounded like a tank.
Yeah.
And I love that this is Malazi and Mully, because you could see they're like, okay, we have to do it. So
yeah,
why not? And let's try to make it fun and interesting.
We got Davis being the cheerleader again.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
The hype man.
Running the PowerPoints.
Yeah.
I did see it. I saw it defined somewhere online that said he gave the Stargate 101 presentation.
Yeah.
Here it is in a nutshell, and he just runs through it really fast. And they're all like, what? And then the British guy gets upset because, what was it, 2 meteors were actually spaceships, and then Major Davis is like, it was actually 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's close. Yeah.
Yeah. It when they did a clip show like this to catch everybody up on Hercules: The Legendary Journeys, the name of the episode was "For Those of You Just Joining Us," which you have to wonder if Sci-Fi did this because it's like, okay, we're going to be either wrapping up the show or continuing it. We need to bring the audience up to speed. But this is like a weird point in the season, like 2/3 to 3/4 of the way through the season to be doing this.
Yeah, it really is. And I was wondering, did they know they were? I guess they probably didn't know they were getting renewed at this point. And so, what's the point of a clip show in the back half of your supposedly final season? Maybe what they were thinking was, we can run this when we start running reruns, so people can get caught up. But at this point, it's coming so late in the game that you don't really need to get, if you're watching the show, you don't need to get caught up if you're past this point already. So
and a lot of the clips they showed weren't like story beats. They were just like CG beats. They're like, here's something we blew up. Here's another thing we blew up. Here's something that crashed. Here's something that blew up.
Hey,
you know,
y'all like that.
Yeah, exactly. But if they wanted to save money and the only two actors they could afford were like, you know, Ronnie Cox and Donna S. Davis, they should have just like had Hammond and Kinsey like in a boxing match with like big boxing mitts and just like fighting each other for 42 minutes. I would watch that.
They could have done like a 12 Angry Men kind of thing. Just have it be them in a room talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, Babylon 5 has done episodes where it's just basically two characters in a room talking, you know, and it's one of the most riveting episodes of the series. So they could have saved money, but if they were told, no, it has to be a clip show, there's no other way you can save money. I don't know what they could have done at that point.
I did see Malazi in an interview said that they were told bottle episodes and clip show. And we've talked about how many bottle episodes we've had this season because they front load. I mean, so much of their money was at the very beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And then the season finale we know is well, Jack doesn't, but Victor and I know.
Yeah.
It's a doozy. Like that's where the money goes. When you see that one, this will make complete sense.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's always funny when you have a clip show that is almost enough material to be its own episode, but they just kind of pad it out. And I feel like this kind of falls in that range.
Yeah.
Whereas there are some shows where they'll do a clip show and it's literally like you have the opening like little setup and then the rest of it is just clips.
Or
they don't really do that here.
They're flipping through a photo album and it's like, oh, there's that Christmas that we like burned the cake. And it like, they could have had like Sam and Jack sitting on a couch just flipping through their scrapbook or something.
That's fine. As long as they're sitting really close.
Yeah.
Or they could have done like a whole blooper episode. That would have been funny.
Yeah.
That
like outtakes. Oh my gosh. I bet there's a ton.
I mean, there are if you look them up on YouTube, but yeah, I feel like the Stargate would be a good fit for that kind of thing. They're able to have enough fun that they could pull that off.
Yeah. Think about it. The only main SG-1 wasn't in this.
No, they really weren't.
episode.
That was the other thing too.
Yeah.
The other notable thing is like no cast member of SG-1. Like they didn't have Jonas like stick his head through the door and say, hey, do you guys need more coffee or anything? You know?
Did you technically have Michael Shanks since it was Thor, or was this someone else's?
No, that was Michael Shanks' Thor, I thought. And they had Michael Shanks' picture up. So maybe he got like paid for a full appearance. I don't know. But,
yeah.
I mean, we that was interesting. And then we do learn some interesting things, like the fact that the Prometheus still doesn't have a functioning hyperdrive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting to learn. I can't remember if we learned maybe a little bit more about how Prometheus was funded and built, but nothing too critical.
Yeah, it's just them talking about it's been reverse engineered at Area 51 and pretty much that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end, it gets outfitted with shields and weapons. So from the Asgard. So
right, because basically we're at the point where Kinsey is convinced the rest of the nations other than Russia that the Navy or the Air Force should not be, I'm going to get in trouble for doing that. The Air Force should not be running the SG program, and Thor comes in and basically drops a hammer on all
Thor's
of Kinsey's
hammer.
Hey, I wasn't even intending that, but that works out. There we go. On all of Kinsey's plans to take over the Stargate program, and basically says, I trust General Hammond and Jack O'Neill to run this program, and if you have a problem with it, you can go pound sand.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
In his awesome chair.
Yeah.
That's true. And I love that it was, you see Hammond be like, I have one last thing I can do. And like, he leaves the room and then they act like nothing ever happened. And then in comes Thor. And you realize he called them.
Yep. Gotta put in the call.
And they seem very, like, the other ambassadors seem very easily impressed by what could have been faked, like, any number of ways. It's like, oh, he turned off the lights and now here's a puppet in a chair. It's, they're very like, oh, this must be an alien because that's never been hoaxed before. I know. We'll leave that there, but
yeah, they could have easily just made an animatronic puppet and or some sort of projection, but hey.
Yeah.
Well, even in the very beginning, was it the British ambassador is like, thinking this is a hoax? Like what you're telling me is a bunch of lies. You could have made something a little more believable. And, so maybe by that, I mean, they've been sitting in that room for a long time with Major Davis and Kinsey, and they're just like, it's like when you're in a Zoom call or something and it takes forever and ever and ever, and then something happens. You're like, wow, that was
unexpected. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They just needed to go to the bathroom and are ready to get out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at, there's another reading of this episode where maybe it all could have been a hoax, really. I mean, they're just showing clips from a TV show, not to get meta, but.
Yeah, I would assume that the clips are just for the representation to the audience and it's more just pictures and slideshows of these different events.
I just imagine Major Davis very animatedly try to explain, and then the mothership crashes down into the ocean and sploosh.
It's like when C-3PO is telling the Star Wars stories to the Ewoks and he's making all the sound effects.
Yeah,
that would have been fun. Like to have Colin Cunningham get up there, Major Davis, and
with a little model of the ship.
Yeah. He's standing on the table, his top buttons and his tie is loosened, and he's just like.
He gets one of the Chiquita banana stickers, puts it on his forehead to be Teal'c.
Yeah. And Teal'c.
See, they should have just called us. We have all kinds of ideas.
Yeah.
Amazon, if you're listening, hire us to write your next clip show.
Please do.
Or just lock us in a room and we'll just brainstorm it all and come up with it.
Yes.
We're scabs. We'll write any show.
Or we'll ask ChatGPT too.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's really pretty much it.
Did we stretch that long enough?
Hold on.
Victor's got more.
Oh, yeah. So this episode really does. So we haven't heard about Anubis since the first or second episode of the season.
Yeah, he kind of disappeared.
Yeah, and then this episode is all about what a big threat Anubis is. And eventually they do say, oh, he's marshaling his forces, and then he's going to attack us. That's for sure. And it just, the fact that they mentioned him in this episode without showing him kind of just reinforces how much he's been sidelined for the first, 3/4 of the season. Mm-hmm. He's like the big bad, and we haven't seen him or heard from him. We've just been kind of, messing around with Nirti and who knows what else.
Planets of the Week. Yeah.
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 Which I like those episodes, but if you establish a big bad in episode 1 of the season, you have to kind of seed it throughout the season. Episode 4, it's like, oh, Anubis destroyed another planet. He's going to be a big bad guy that we have to deal with, that sort of thing. So
do you think I'm assuming to have Anubis on, he costs more money because of his, have we seen his face yet?
No, but it's just like a reflective, Cobra Commander mask at this point. So
I just wondered because we're going to get a whole heck of a lot of them here.
Yeah, coming up in a few episodes, but
yeah, but you're right. I hadn't thought about it.
Yeah, you totally forgot about him, and it's like, oh, and then it's like Anubis is going to attack us. You're like, wait, who? Oh, that guy. Yeah, yeah.
I think we did get the one episode where he destroys the planet, and the NID has Was that this season where the NID stole the device and that causes the planet, like Anubis comes and he basically
the one with Henry
Yeah.
Gibson? I think that was last episode or last season.
Okay, yeah. Cannot remember the name of the episode off the top of my head, but that one.
I remember it like it was only yesterday.
Today we are discussing the 20th episode of Season 5, The Sentinel. What are your thoughts on this episode, Father?
Slow. It's not the worst episode by any stretch of imagination, but it is really slow. Obviously, it's a follow-up to Shades of Grey, the NID, showing the damage that NID did out in the universe, especially with Earth's reputation and things like that. But it's just slow. It like you guys are just saying, 5 minutes of the episode were the important part, the end, the last 5 minutes, and that was it. So, yeah, it was an okay episode, but like I said, slow.
Awesome. Y'all have any other thoughts on this episode?
It was definitely a clip show, and I mean, it was kind of cool to see Ronnie Cox completely being like super evil Kinsey. We haven't really seen super evil Kinsey in a while, and just the fact that he is so willing to throw the SGC under the bus, to advance his own career, and the way he does it. I mean, nobody else could have pulled that off except for Ronnie Cox. So kudos to the actor and bluegrass musician for he's actually like renowned bluegrass musician as well. So check out his music. Watch cool. This episode. Yeah. And I think he really kind of made this episode. And it was cool to see him get him kind of like squaring off against Hammond. And if it had just been the two of them, like in a room, I think that would have worked as well.
Would have been fun to see.
Yeah.
And I thought they did a good job of which clips they selected. They had a nice variety of seasons.
That's true. Yeah.
So we pulled from pretty early on. I think maybe season 2. Touchstone.
Yeah.
So I thought that was nice that you're going far back and not just like this season and last season, but kind of incorporating for, people who haven't been watching the whole time. So like I said, Stargate 101. So I guess if anyone is new to Stargate, we tell them, watch this episode. Get caught up.
You won't have any idea what's going on, but you'll see lots of things explode.
Yes.
And Major Davis tried to explain it all.
Yeah.
Just start at the beginning and watch all the way through and skip this episode. No.
Listen to each of our podcasts as you watch it, and then you will understand everything.
There you go. Awesome. We do have some feedback every so often on our Discord channel at sqpn.com/Discord. I like to ask different questions relating to Stargate. So this time I had asked, what piece of technology from Stargate would you like to have in your life, and how would you use it to make your life easier? And 1eek, it's 3E, so I'm just going to pronounce it like 1eek, says, take my money and give me that healing hand. Hopefully it does not have similar side effects as the sarcophagus. And the time machine from Mobius would be great, but a little bit dangerous too. I think the healing hand would be nice to have.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, aside from the Stargate itself, I just really want a Maup.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun.
I know that's probably like the least impressive from a technology standpoint, but golly, some like little robot tank I can just send anywhere I want.
I can see that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the ones that you could actually probably get.
Yeah, exactly.
Just it's
pick
realistic.
Kids up from school.
That really exists.
It's like, oh, you have a packet of information for me. Let me just reach out with my Maup arm and grab that. I don't even have to pick the kids up. I just send them out and they can ride it back.
You could order pizza and go pick it up without having to get off your couch.
Yeah. I love Maups. I think they're the greatest thing.
Do you remember what it stands for?
Oh. I don't love them that much.
How much do you love Maups? Name all their songs.
No.
And Matthew, who is our resident Farmer says, those harvester ships from the Ashin would be pretty handy. And the shield device that Rodney found would probably be more useful. And I just want to say, if you're interested in hearing about the technology of farming, you should check out Secrets of Technology episode 195. Matthew is a guest on that episode, and they talk all about all the different technology that is utilized in farming, and it's really interesting.
I remember it like it was only yesterday.
You need a chime or something. Disney chimes. If you could have one piece of technology, Lisa, what would you have?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I think the sarcophagus kind of sounds nice to me, just without the turning you evil thing, just because it looks like it would be very restful, and like I'm kind of hit middle aged and I'm feeling the crap, so I don't know. That sounds kind of nice, rejuvenated and get a good sleep at the same time, and then I don't know. Maybe the withdrawal and the turning evil would be okay. I don't know. It might be worth it to sleep.
Maybe.
Can I change my answer?
Sure.
I want the quantum mirror because I think it'd be better than TV because it would be me on it. Just different versions of me. I'd watch the adventures of like successful me and then the adventures of like me just getting like hit by a train and then like the adventures of me. It'd be like, when you think about it, that's like the ultimate like form of entertainment.
Could be.
I suppose you could look at it that way. It could also be extremely depressing.
Yeah.
Or it could be like a warning.
Yeah.
Don't do this because this is what's going to happen.
Well, with the weather lately, maybe the weather device should be the most practical thing we should all want, for the hurricane out there. And we're in Texas, we've been in drought. So, maybe we should be practical and stop thinking about ourselves. Think about everybody.
Just don't steal the Madronan's touchstone or you'll never hear the end of it. How about you, Jack? What's your favorite technology that you'd like?
Man, I don't know. I think if I was gonna go big, I would just get a death glider. It'd be fun to cruise around in.
Oh.
It would actually.
Drop the kids off at school, park that at work. Although I feel like if I had a death glider, I probably wouldn't need to go to work because I could kind of get whatever I wanted with that.
Dream big, get a cargo ship, and then you got the ring transporters. You can just drop them down.
Oh, I like that too.
Yeah,
that would be good. Or I could go simple. I just want one of those helmets that is the big like snake and then it opens up and looks really goofy.
Halloween's coming up.
Yeah, yes. Peekaboo.
Get one of those. I'm sure you can find it on eBay or something.
I've seen some online that people have made and they're really cool, and I am not crafty enough to know how to build something like that.
Do they automatically like retract this stuff too, or?
I've seen ones online that people have made like with 3D printers and little actuators and probably like an Arduino to control it. It has like the LEDs and all that, and they look much better than the ones in the show. Like they're just more well done, but the technology is more advanced now. So
yeah, I mean LED technology has advanced like so much over the last 20 or 30 years that like you go back and you watch TV shows from the 90s and you're like, oh, if you just had like the 5-cent LEDs that we have now, this would have looked so much cooler. But
get those little RGB ones and you can do whatever you want. And our last answer on here is Joden, aka Jeff, says the ancient time looping device would be nice to have if it only affected me as long as I can turn it off so I'm not trapped. I could really catch up on reading. That's a good point. I haven't thought about that. Or he also says the Tok'ra gauntlet that grants strength and speed. It would be nice to be stuck in a time.
Upgrades.
Oh, the thing on the arm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes you super hungry. And you can eat whatever you want and not get fat. That would be cool.
And still get a Diet Coke.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does it help you like burn fat though when you're using it?
I don't know.
I imagine that like after you've burned through your carbs, right, it would just start using your body fat as sustenance.
So it's like a shortcut to keto.
Yeah.
That would be nice to have. Awesome. Yeah, we really appreciate all the feedback. It's fun to get y'all's answers on this. I like dropping new questions every so often. So if you want to be part of that, check out our Discord at sqpn.com/discord, and we have our Secrets of Stargate channel there. And if you go there, you can also see some amazing memes and paintings that we have that our listeners have shared on there. So I'm not going to say anything more than that. If you want to see the painting, check it out there.
It's going to show up on my
August 19th.
Yeah. Yes.
It's going to, I'm printing that out. It's going to show up in my daughter's room when she wakes up in the morning.
You need to film her reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That might be coming.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. Before we go, we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Stargate, including Elisha R., Jimmy C., Brandon H., and Jeff and Rebecca. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Stargate and all the shows at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. And be sure to follow the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and you can find our video versions at youtube.com/StarQuestMedia. And to find previous episodes of Secrets of Stargate and to send feedback, please visit sqpn.com/Stargate. And you can email us at stargate@sqpn.com or follow StarQuest on social media at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia or on Twitter or X, if we're going to be forced to call it that, at SQPN. And we'll be back next time when we'll be discussing the next episode of SG-1, Forsaken. Until then, Lisa Jones, thank you for joining me and sharing the Secrets of Stargate.
Thanks, Jack.
And Victor Lambs, thank you too.
Thanks, Jack. The Americans are hiding something and have been for years now. That Russia seems to have no objection is all the more confusing.
I believe it.
That's very accurate.
Yeah. Once again, I'm Jack Baruzzini. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Stargate on StarQuest.
Anyway, I'm sorry, but that just happens to be how I feel about it. What do you think?